Hello, everyone. ATS 25 receiving WWV. Put that down a little bit. And welcome aboard, everyone. Hope everything's all right. This looks okay here. That's good. Let's take that here, put it here. Here we go. And welcome aboard, my friends. We are outside because it's beautiful. And I thought it'd be nice to be outside. So let's just put this like this. Hey everyone, welcome aboard. And this is the live show. We are here twice a week on Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. That's 0 hours UTC. And on Saturday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, that's 20 hours UTC. Soon to change the ratio. The Eastern Time will be different as we move into our in about a month into the standard time. So we'll get off the Eastern Daylight Time, and of course that will change the time we start the show in local time, but not in UTC. Shows stay the same in UTC all the time. So it's like everything in shortwave. On shortwave, always remember that UTC is king, and that is the time you should be looking at for everything, and including the live shows. They're always at 0 and 20 UTC. That never changes. So that's the cool thing about UTC, and that's why we use UTC actually. My name is Gilles. I'm located in Montreal, Quebec, Canada, and northeast part of North America. And we are, of course, here to talk about radio. It's a beautiful day, about 70 Fahrenheit, 21 Celsius today. I did put on a sweater because it's going to get cooler as the sun goes down, but we'll be able to continue and enjoy doing the show. Hope that you enjoy the show today and that you have fun as we tune the bands and try different little things. So, like I said, my name is Joe, located in northeast part of North America, in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. And there's a beautiful chat room that you can join and say hi and tell us where you are. And, great people that are here to help and that are a lot of fun to really to, get together and just have fun in our shortwave, in our radio hobby. We always say it, it's a solitary thing. So this is where everybody comes together and talks about radio, and that's the cool part of having the live shows. Being outside, there'll be a little more noise probably than is usual, but this is the fun thing. I thought, there ain't going to be that much more days that I can do something outside at this time of year. So why not enjoy the beautiful weather and do it outside today, as it will be one of the last shows from outside for the year, probably. You never know. Surprises do happen. I've remembered the few times that we've had some really warm days in November, for example. So kind of cool to be here today. There's a Facebook group. The official SWL Facebook group is the same thing as here, official SWL channel Facebook group, where when the party's over here, it continues on the Facebook group, because there you can continue sharing with others and having fun. And I often post different things and check out the different stuff and share what I'm listening to and so on. So it's pretty cool to be here. Cheers, everybody. My little drink, which is vodka cranberry. So nice to be here and to do a live show again. If my voice is a little scratchy during the show, I did a about 10 songs, 10 or 11 songs that I sang yesterday. We're not allowed karaoke here in Quebec yet because of confinement, but the karaoke bar where I go to, they have something called it's kind of a singing thing. It's as if you were an artist, but the difference is there's no words on the screen, and you got to actually sing 12 songs, at least 12 songs. You have to choose because you might actually sing 12 songs in 3 sets of 4. So by doing that, it's more like artists being on stage, and you can kind of bypass the karaoke part of things, but only 4 people can do that. So I sang 10 songs yesterday, and so which means my voice is very scratchy. And we have Stray Cat here that is actually just going around and right next to me down here. She just came to say hi. So she's wondering what's happening. She's looking everywhere. She's looking at the table and the wires. So nice to have all of you here. Of course, as usual. So I set up today, my radios of choice are Texan H501 is here, which is on WWV right now with at 15 megahertz. So this is WWV, 15 megahertz. That's on the Texan H501. And if I put the volume higher, the ATS 25 little radio is here. This is WWV, 15 megahertz on it. Pretty good. Pretty good. So it's receiving very, very well. So it's like two radios that are really working very well here. So we'll be tuning both. We'll be trying both of these radios here on the loop. It's on the W6LVP loop that I have up here. So I hope that it's going to be fun to tune around and be here tuning. Having a lot of fun with the ATS 25. Kind of a novelty little thing, but a lot of fun to play around with. So still enjoying that for sure. Okay. We have, let's check just the email first, because we're going to see how many if people have said hello through email. Because I always forget, so I want to do this first. So we have Elizabeth saying hello, and she's going to be listening to the show tonight. She tunes with her Kenwood R5000. She says that she's been quite sick lately, and she's in bed, but enjoying radio as it makes her feel better. So take care, Elizabeth, and nice to know that you're here tonight listening to the show. Richard Lemke is also here from St. Albert. So it's nice to have you on board, Richard. Let me just I just did something here. Oh, well. So nice to have Richard Lemke from St. Albert in Alberta, Canada, always here saying hi. So it's always kind of cool to have you on board, my friend. And so cool to have everybody here, and hope that you'll enjoy the show tonight. So this is good here. This is good here. Okay, so we've got that. I'll put the schedules here. Let's put schedule so I can search for any frequencies. So first of all, HF Underground for Pirates. I'll be looking at that. Pirates. Here we go. Shortwave Pirates. We'll add a tab for the schedules on eibispace.de that we might need to check. How about we add Priam just in case we Got some number stations we want to try on these radios here and everywhere. We'll be checking that. So nothing before an hour from now. So we'll be keeping an eye out for that. As for pirates, there's apparently something on 6925. Started at around 20 UTC. So that is interesting. 2021. No, 17 UTC. Sorry. So there's nothing been posted recently. Things have been, so it was this morning, like it was 17 UTC, 10 UTC. Nothing now. So we'll be keeping an eye on the pirates for today. Trying to tune around some pirate stations for sure. And Stray Cat is still here, so it's kind of cool. What else do we have? So, hey, Joseph, nice to have you here. Bobby Burgess, WA5107 SWL in Louisiana. William Mobus, KF0BVU in St. Louis, Missouri. Nice to have you here. René Charbonnier from Radio Classic Sunday from the Netherlands. Nice to have you on board, my friend, as always. Matt, MDK2 from Denver, Colorado. Nice to have you on board. Dwayne, nice to have you here. Dwight, nice to have you on board from Coastal Virginia. Charlie, W8CFO from Columbus, Ohio. Gang of Four, nice to have you on board from New Hampshire. Arthur's Other Crafter's Kitchen, greetings from Massachusetts. Really enjoying the ATS 25 videos. It really does seem to be a good value for what it is. Look, because if you look at videos online and a lot of what people, I find that there's more ranting than actually should be on that little thing. Because I personally find that it's fun to play with. And honestly, I've had a lot of fun and it receives very well. It actually even does, when you're not in a frequency range where there's too much internal noise, it actually does a good job, even with the telescopic. So it's not a dud or it's not something that doesn't work. It actually works well. And I'm happy. I find this radio to be really a lot of fun to play with. It's a different little thing, different form factor. It depends what you're looking for and depends what you want. Honestly, that's really where it goes. Some people are like, well, for the price, I'm going to buy, a decent portable or whatever. It's like, yeah, fine. But for what it is, kind of fun. If you like gadgets, if you like those unusual radios and unusual form factors that you can play with, well, that actually does a great job at that. So I'm very happy with it, honestly. For those, because a lot of people are asking me where I bought it. I bought it on Amazon. Just go on Amazon and type ATS 25 radio, and you're gonna get the links to a Chinese seller that has those on. Remember, on Amazon, it's going to tell you, for example, if you order today, October 9th, it's probably going to tell you, well, it'll be here, October 25th or from October 25th until December 4th. So it's like it looks like really far, far away. But honestly, it took, I think it took about 2 weeks. I would have to go back on Amazon to see what's the date that I clicked buy. But it was faster than it arrived. Actually, the earliest date they had on Amazon was October 15th. And I got it this week, October 5th, something like that. It was on Monday. So Monday was October the 4th. So, it's a great radio. I'm enjoying it a lot. TVDXer, j'espère que ça va bien. Moi, ça va très bien. On est bien aujourd'hui et on annonce de la belle température pour les prochains jours. C'est très agréable comme mois d'octobre. Nice to have you here near Montreal. Shortwave listener, nice to have you here from Northwest England. M6CIH, and good evening. Nice to have you here. 57 Fahrenheit and raining. Well, it's not the same weather as here. By the way, a lot of people have been asking me in the past week. I've had a few requests, people saying, so in the chat room, there are people that give out, kind of calls or letters and numbers, or what are those? Two types of calls are in the chat room. For example, shortwave listener M6CIH is an amateur radio call sign. So he is a licensed amateur radio in England. And a lot of people in the chat room are ham radio operators and are, they give their call signs on the chat room. And there's another type of call. For example, if we look at David in Barcelona that just popped in here from Spain, he has two call signs. He has EA3IEK, which is his amateur radio call sign. But he's got another call that's EA4998URE-SWL. That is a shortwave listener call sign. You can actually, for free, get a shortwave listening call sign. What does that bring? Is there some importance to it? It's more of a novelty, fun having your radio listener call sign more than anything else. But if you do exchange QSL cards or stuff like that, say you would make your own card for an amateur radio that you'd like to have an amateur radio card in return, you could put your listener call sign to it. And, it adds to the fun of radio. It doesn't have any any importance in the sense of giving you privileges or anything. It's really just for the fun of having one. That's all. Richard, nice to have you on board from Albany, New York. Ordered the ATS 25 yesterday. Said it will be October 26th, November 22nd. I bet you'll have it in about 2 weeks like I did. They just put these dates to make sure that you wait enough. Bonsoir, PLF Radio. J'espère que tu vas bien. Lyon, en France. Toujours un plaisir de t'avoir parmi nous. Nice to have you here. Where else? Berfin. Nice to have you here. Where are you located? Keegan, XN80Xer. Nice to have you on board from Northwest Arkansas. 88 Fahrenheit over there. Wow, that's hot. Jim's Radio Check. Nice to have you on board. And says outside on a beautiful afternoon in the Chicago area. Kamag Z76, nice to have you here from West Michigan. Rob, nice to have you on board from Phoenix, Arizona. Frank, nice to have you here. Joe Tyson from Apex, North Carolina. KM4WRQ. David, KJ4CMY, nice to have you here from Central Georgia. And nice to have you. Is the cat still here? I think she's gone down. Last, she came up this afternoon and she stayed about an hour, but now she's gone. I gave her food just before the show, so I think she ate the food that I gave her. So, anyways, stray cat. Paul the cat was on this chair 5 minutes before the show started. I thought, oh, that'd be cool. He's gonna stay there. I'll put the camera showing the chair, and people are gonna think Paul the cat is gonna do the show today. But Paul the cat decided that he had enough just before the show started, unfortunately. And he went inside on my new office chair instead. So I guess maybe he wanted to have warmer temperatures. And here it's windy and all, Joe, nice to have you here. 2E0JGR. John Ritson. I said Joe. It's John Ritson, sorry. Jeff Williams, nice to have you here from Southwest Cornwall. Art, nice to have you here. K2ADC. The email is officialshortwaveradio@gmail.com. Officialshortwaveradio@gmail.com. Brad, nice to have you on board. We have John Beckham, nice to have you here from Northeast Florida. Christian Marcoux, j'espère que ça va bien. Nice to have you here from North Bay, Ontario. We have M1 MBZ. Nice to have you here from the UK. Simon. Nice to have you here. RJDA Dakota. Nice to have you on board. WA0113SWL. Pretty cool to have everybody here. TVDX, a nice sweater. Thanks. It's brand new. It's actually a purchase on Amazon. I decided to try a sweater on Amazon to see how it was. It's not bad. There's a weirdness here, maybe a little bit, but It's yeah, it's kind of nice. I like it, and it's warm, and that's what I needed. I like to have a warm sweater. I like the sweater thing because with the sweater, you don't necessarily always have to have a coat because at this time of year, what's the big problem here is you get out in the morning, it's cool, but you know that in the afternoon you won't need a jacket. So this is like, yeah, you can, manage with the cool weather, but not really bring a jacket with you. David KJ4CMY says, been on the handbands, lots of parks on the air and QSO parties. 21 megahertz, 15 meters was active too. That's nice to see. TVDXer just popped a Cohiba Siglo 6 and a beer. Okay. Cygnus Rider, nice to have you on board. For Joe from Rochester, New York. John Beckham, I heard a station this morning on 15590 at 12 UTC, says John. So at 12 UTC on 15590, you probably had, let's check it out here. A lot of CNR1 coming in from China at this time of the year in North America. So 12 UTC, probably China Radio International. 12 UTC from 12 to 13 to Europe. If it was in English, it was China Radio International, but directly from one of the Chinese transmitters, which is nice because that's hearing China direct, not having some relay, which is a lot of fun. David KJ4CMY, come down to Georgia. We still have summer-like conditions. Nice weather all week. Cool. I kind of like the cool weather, honestly. MDK2 looks like a nice day here in Denver. It's a bit windy, but temperature is 71 Fahrenheit. Roughly the same temperature we're having here, basically. Bob, nice to have you here. John Ritson, we are glad of shortwave listener has, even though in the West we are reducing shortwave transmissions, third world rely upon this type of transmission is essential. Absolutely, absolutely. Yes, TVDXer, that's the way. Absolutely. So spend the evening there, had a few beers, talked with some friends. Simon, as a newbie, I don't have a radio yet. I use WebSDR. Given how much we can receive with web, what's great about owning a real shortwave hardware radio? It's the fun that you're listening to it from your home or where you live with your own equipment. It's not something you have to, but there's fun in having your own radio to tune around stuff and knowing that you're receiving signals from far away with your own little equipment. Dean Hintz, nice to have you here, Dean from Central Georgia. Cygnus Rider, regarding ATS-25 receiver, how difficult is it to change the battery? Well, I haven't opened it, but if the battery, if it's like many others, the battery is probably soldered directly on the board, which means that changing the battery is might require some skills. You can, of course, cut the wires and just put the other battery you would put in on there. But for me, for now it's not a problem. Someday if I see that the battery life isn't as good, I'll personally I have no problem finding a way to put a new battery in there. But yeah, for somebody that's not very technical and doesn't like to open the radios, definitely you got to think that thing has a rechargeable battery that maybe won't last, forever. In a few years, it might actually drain faster and not last as long. Now, on the upside, if you're worried about the battery, remember that you can always run it off of a battery pack like you have for, smartphones. So if the battery dies, for example, you just add a battery pack and always keep it still portable because with a battery pack, it still keeps portable, even though you have something extra. and still can run the radio anyways on the battery pack. WF7I Homebrew, nice to have you here. Finished a massive antenna project to upgrade a large 160-meter full wave loop yesterday. Uploading video to YouTube shortly. Cool. Now is the test phase, having fun with that, which is always a lot of fun, honestly. Always a lot of fun. Okay, let me just find where I was. Okay. Parag Nolan, nice to have you on board from Ireland. Can you let everyone know what were the songs that you sang? Oh man, I sang some Billy Idol, Eyes Without a Face. I sang Other Side from Red Hot Chili Pepper. I sang In My Place from Coldplay. I sang Chris Isaak, Wicked Games. I sang, trying to remember the other songs by heart, because I had a list. You have to put the list usually up, but I changed some of the songs as we were going. Time from Pink Floyd. I actually sang Time from Pink Floyd. I did, what else? The Turtles, Happy Together. I did a few things like that. I don't remember all the songs, but some of the ones that I remember that I did yesterday. WPE2 QED, Tom the Xer, nice to have you on board from the Hudson Valley, New York. Chris66, nice to have you here from Orlando, Florida. Everybody says hello is Elizabeth. Everybody wants you to get better. So like you got to keep the spirit up. John Beckham, I'm ordering an ATS 45 next week. Thanks for the review. The 25, you mean? For the reviews that led me to buying Decision. So yeah, it's you got to just understand what it is, and that if you're buying your first radio, that's possibly not what you want to buy as a radio, but for the fun of what it is and the fact that I received quite well, that's just cool. Michael Langer, nice to have you here. Parag Nolan says, hey, Elizabeth, you got a great receiver. Take care of yourself and get well soon. Hi, Brawler. Nice to have you here from Northeast Arkansas. QRP radio listener. Nice to have you on board from Panza Island, Italy. Cool to see people from Italy. Michael Satterfield, K4AFT. Nice to have you here from South Carolina. What else do we have? So Keegan is here. X80X from Northwest Arkansas. We have Frank says in the European Pirates section of the HF Underground, there is plenty of activity. Yeah, you guys, there is really, really a lot more active. And what always amazes me is the fact that in Europe, you have these 24-hour pirates, which always I find kind of always funny, because here in North America, you don't have 24-hour pirates. They would get caught quite fast, honestly. Christian Marcou's shirt is banging for a pipe to complete the picture. Just radio check. I agree with Joe. The MA30 is really the best antenna for the money. Oh, absolutely. For the price that you pay, you've got something pretty amazing in the MLA30. Randy, Riverside, California. Nice to have you here. Eric Cottrell, bonjour, hi. Nice to have you on board from the Boston area. Just got in and getting stuff at Home Depot for house projects. Cool. Keep busy. It's always fun. David used to live in Peterborough and Shrewsbury and other places in the Midlands. Loved it over there. WF7I Homebrew says we're having identical weather conditions as Montreal right now, about 68, but overcast. M. Blair, nice to have you here. For KC5AJS from Memphis. Keegan this morning had FMDX station from Louisiana, Houston, Dallas, Fort Worth, Texas, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, and Little Rock, Arkansas. Cool. M1MBZ ATS25 here is the same price as a Texan PL 660 on Amazon. Yeah, that would be kind of pretty much right. If you want to have a nice portable receiver, go for the Texan PL 660. But TS25 for what it is kind of cute. It's kind of a cute little thing to play with. Sorry. As Eric Control says, WB1HBU, which is a hand call from the United States of America. Kevin, nice to have you here. Kevin from Point Beach, New Jersey, WS2H. Keegan's dad is W9JEF. Brad is N5LUL or WA5192SWL. Rob, thank you for explaining it. Yeah, because a lot of people, don't understand exactly what these calls are all about, and what happens is that they end up thinking, what's that exactly, and which one would be an amateur call or not, and it's always there's questions that pop up from time to time, especially as we do have quite a good number of newbies here, and what happens is that you end up with people kind of telling you, asking you these questions. So it's fun to answer, and we have new members all the time, so it's kind of something that's nice to go back to the basics a little bit from time to time. Andy New, nice to have you on board from the UK. Currently having fun with FLDG and multi-PSK using WebSDR. Cool. That is fun. Bar, nice to have you here from Germany. Michael Langer, KYK8583. Robert Del Greco, nice to have you on board from Hartford, Connecticut, KB1PZS. And I thought that you added the SWL just to make sure people understand for that it was for shortwave. But I have seen a few calls that did include SWL within the call. Also depends where you get your listener call sign. So sometimes you never know. So Dean, nice to have you here from Kentucky. Yeah, Eric, she just came for food. She came for a little petting, and then she just went away. I got home yesterday. She was, because when I left, she was here sleeping on the couch. So I left her in, and I went to sing my songs and everything. I came back home at, I don't know, it was about 2:30 a.m. And she was she was like sleeping on the couch. And then suddenly, about half an hour later, she has to get out around 3:30 a.m. last night. But she's nice. She comes over. She's welcome, anyways. Jetcrafter checking in from Maine. Found out the Connicom GP7 was supposed to be out today, but went to the website and now it says November 3rd. Probably sitting on the ship in the bay. Yeah, the last time I had some news about it from Connicom, Nick told me the problem was that they were stuck in port, and that the problem was to get them from there to for them to get the radios, and it was kind of complicated. They said there was a mix of problems with like having workers to undock and to to remove all the stuff from the ships, plus kind of a lot of complex issues happening. So yeah, it's sad, but I'm not surprised. I bet they probably are also very kind of a little pissed at that they have to postpone and wait a little longer for this to come out. How do you get such a shortwave call sign? Says Frank. So there's a thing. I'm just gonna listener call sign. There's a thing called the SWARL, and I'm gonna post the link here. It's totally free, and just go to the SWL call sign info on the right side. Enter your information that they ask you, and then you can preview the application, send it in. Will take a few weeks for it to actually get into your email. You'll get a certificate through the email. I printed mine on photo paper to make it kind of beautiful. So here's the for a shortwave listener call sign. Go here, and here's a website. So the website is posted in the chat room right now. So it's the SWARL.org website, and you can check out and get your own call sign. So depending on the country where you are and all of that, you'll get the call sign that goes with. So for example, they try to keep um, the same type of call sign as an amateur radio would be, and so the prefix will always be like that. What's the prefix? The prefix is, for example, when you hear a station call, so for example, David, which is starts with EA. Well, EA, when you hear an EA station, you know it's from Spain because that's one of the prefixes of Spain. Here in Canada, you'll hear a VE or a VA, and with depending on the rest of the information, it'll tell you what province and so on. In the United States, it could be a K or a W, and so on. So by giving your location, they're going to start your shortwave call sign with a prefix that goes with where you are. So, for example, my certificate starts with VE because VE is one of the prefixes for Canada. So that's why, answer those information correctly to have a proper call sign for your area. Because if you give a wrong country or whatever, it might not be, the call sign will not be assigned properly if you want. But it's totally free of charge. In a few weeks in time, you'll get your certificate. If you lose the certificate, don't lose the email, you can go back to that website and you can actually retrieve your own certificate from there. They keep all the certificates. You just have to search for the search criteria that your name or stuff like that. What else do we have? Keijo, nice to have you here from Helsinki, Finland. OH2CBE, pretty cool. Bar loves the balcony setup. Peter John Fetting, nice to have you on board from South Africa. Thank you for your live chat. So enjoy the program. ZR6PCF from South Africa. Welcome aboard. Mad Radio DXer in UK, nice to have you here. Andy Hunter, nice to have you on board. Mark, nice to have you here too. E0VSS from London. Great stuff, man. Cool. Calthic, nice to have you here from Wisconsin, Larry. KA1FQM and WRNS466. Michael, wish I could grow a beard like yours. I just leave it growing. It's not very well maintained, but I just decided because I could never grow really a beard much, and with confinement being here, I thought, you know what, we're not going anywhere, we're not doing anything last year, so it's like let's see what happens if I just don't cut anything, and that's what it gave out as a did. Well, it doesn't. It's not a year like this, but I've cut it down a little bit. But that's how it grows. Nick Sharp, can you check your email now sent to official Shortwave Radio? Let's check it out here. Let's check it out here. So if I check the email, I don't have anything right now. Did you write Shortwave as a full name? Because it's not official SWL, in the email. It's official Shortwave as a full word radio at gmail.com. I'll put it here. Email official Shortwave radio at gmail.com. That's the official email. Dwayne, do you find the ETS NGN 909X does poorly with the pull-up aerial? I have one, and it does great with long wire, but not so much with pull-up. Yeah, it's one of the common complaints of the ATS 909X, that it's a little deaf on the telescopic. Apparently, it's a mismatch in the radio itself and the impedance, and so it attenuates the telescopic signals. But on a wire antenna or on a loop like I have here, it does perform really well though. So if using it on a wire antenna is not a problem, that works great. But yeah, it's the number one complaint. It was actually the complaint on the first version of the ATS 909 before the X, and then it was the complaint of the 909X that it wasn't fixed. It seems better on the 909X2, but I'm not totally sure it's really 100% fixed, but seems better on the 909X2. But it is definitely the number one complaint of the 909X. What else do we have? David, last week when I went in Soria here in Spain, I made my very first 2 Parks on the Air activations. Cool. Using 100 watt out of the IC7100 radio and a GPC 12 portable vertical antenna. Cool. That's the kind of thing that adds to the fun of radio and amateur radio. It's really cool. C Marchi 128. Thanks for your videos. I'm a newbie and they help a lot. Thank you very much. PR 4470. Nice to have you here from Dallas, Texas. Pretty hot over there. For this time of year, 93 degrees. Yeah, that's hot. Larry Gilmore, nice to have you on board. Great shortwave listening for all day today. In Boston, hope it's all well with you. Great show as always. Thank you, Larry. Joseph says the battery on ATS 25 is below the circuit board and will take some work to replace. So, it's probably, one of those things that that's the sad part of, they probably could have it running on something that's easy to change, and that could have been nice, but it's kind of an all-in-one thing. I want to open it one day, and when I do, I'll make a video showing the inside and how the battery is and how it's probably soldered on the board. It's like the Chinese clone of the Malahide, the Chinese DSP with that screen. The battery was soldered directly on the board. C Marchi is KN4EXM from South Carolina. Stephen Wood, QSO party logs today. Scandinavia, 22 stations, 5 countries. Pennsylvania, 25 stations. Arizona, 1 station. Cool. CM, what is the mic that I'm using right now? It's a Maono. I don't remember the the number model number, but it's a Maono Maono USB microphone. So like here, I don't have the console that is available like I do usually in the live show in my office. So that's the microphone when I don't use a console. It's more portable, and I could just put it somewhere on a table and so on. It's a decent microphone for what it is. Um, what else do we have? There's other Crafter's Kitchen. Farpoint Farms just did a 1 year review of the MLA 30. He's rural in North Carolina and loves it. Did a band scan and picking up lots of stuff. Cool. Larry Gilmore. Beautiful fall day in Boston. You're listening. Stay well. Safe. Cool. Seymour just got a FT891. Cool. Mad Reader DXer saying hello to Elizabeth and hope you get well soon. Tristan, nice to have you here from Newfoundland. What else do we have? We're at what now? 163 people watching. Not bad. Levi Nathan, nice to have you here from Israel. Pretty cool. Ole, nice to have you here from Ukraine. 73, nice to have you on board. Scooter Cranes, nice to have you on board. What was the spark that first got you interested in shortwave radio? It's simply my dad coming home with a multi-band radio someday when I was about 12. And what happened is I just found it mysterious. I think it's the mysterious side of radio that, I was already, even without, any multi-band or anything, I was already a little kind of having fun tuning stations that were far away. And, when I would tune the bands, I would like the AM band particularly, because FM here has always been a little difficult. There was pretty much always a lot of stations. But when I grew up, the medium wave band was much more crowded than it is now because there was a lot of low powered stations that were in the smaller cities around, different parts of Quebec. So you could tune slowly and you would hear stations. I would hear stations from like Saint Hyacinthe and places that don't have their own AM radio station anymore. And I would tune, and when I would hear one that would seem far away, I'd stay there and actually listen to it until the ID have an idea where they were located. So I already had kind of a basic interest that something, stations were far away would make me, I don't know, was having fun with that. I remember playing around the TV and having fun thinking that I'm receiving a signal, on a TV channel from say when I was listening to cartoons on Saturday morning. It was fun listening to the cartoons, but I already had also the fun of, well, I'm listening to a station from, Plattsburgh, New York, or, Burlington, Vermont, and on the TV. And so it was part cool watching my cartoons, but part cool they're coming from far away. What else do we have? What else do we have? What else do we have? Andrew DXer says, was DXing shortwave powers this afternoon in UK. Quite a good number. About best was one on 5955, really strong. Would not stop rocking and no ID, which adds a lot of mystery. Kind of interesting. No ID, does definitely adds a little something. Khalid, nice to have you on board from Saudi Arabia. Brian Penny, nice to have you here from Cape Cod, Massachusetts. Just got home from spending the afternoon at the opera. First performance in 18 months. Now back to pirate radio. Cool. Yep, I'll tune some bands with the H501 definitely. I'll also tune with the I don't know, guys. Maybe I don't know if you see it, but with the little ATS here, we're gonna have fun playing around with that. I'll be around with that. Glenn, nice to have you here from Milwaukee, KB9IN. Um, Twiggly Bun, nice to have you here. Robert Paul, Texan 660 is 130. The 990 is 279, 275 now. Is that really worth it? Um, I, you know, I paid my 990 was what 235 when I purchased it, I believe, and the H501 I think was 298. Um, they definitely are higher end radio. They are a triple conversion. 660 at 130 is it's hard to put a price on these radios. The 990 at 275 is definitely higher than what I paid. Then again, would be approximately the price I paid if you consider I added the shipping to it. So for me, it is worth it. Absolutely. It depends what you're looking for. I would say it's the worth is better for a 990 at 275 than I would say a 660 at 130. Because of really, really good audio, amazing performance, and all the features of the very precise tuning. You're getting a radio that's very different. The 990 and the H501X, you're getting radios that are very different, very precise in tuning. That said, the PL330 is pretty surprising because it also has that precision in tuning, which makes it very unique for the price point. The Texan PL330, I got to say, for the price, is definitely a game changer. It's crazy what Texan was able to give us on the 330 as performance and precision and tuning with the calibration and all. That is not available on a lot of radios that are much more expensive. Michael Andrew says it was a 1973 CB call. Barry, nice to have you here from Kentucky. Because that's true. There's also the CB calls in there. Radioactive W7WXV hearing WWV on 25 megahertz. Wow, cool. I'd try it here just for the fun. 25. Nothing on 25. It is on 20 though. I hear 20. I hear 15. And that's pretty much it. So I'm not hearing 25. I haven't heard 25 since I think it was last spring, maybe even the winter, probably last winter. I haven't heard 25 since last winter, maybe January, February, somewhere over there, around there. So, what else do we have? WSWL low power in Valdosta, Georgia on 107.47.7. Interesting. David P. Miller, nice to have you here from New Jersey. Michael Ketchell, have you ever used an AOR DV1 receiver? If so, what did you think? I never did. I've heard some positive, some negative out of that receiver. Depends, I think, where and what you're tuning. Gang of Four says weather here 58 degrees Fahrenheit. John Beckham, I like the song Wicked Games from Chris Isaac. That song was in the movie Family Man with Nicolas Cage. Yeah, it happens, Radioactive. It happens. M1MBZ says in the UK, the RSGB issue, which has shortwave listening membership, So you get an SWL call sign. Cool. But if you use the one that I sent, they whatever country around the world that you are in, they will actually give you a shortwave listener call sign that will be tagged to the country where you live. Dwight, you talked a lot about the Texan PL330. I got one a couple of weeks ago. Very happy with it. Thanks for talking about it. You know, I would say that the I would say that if you are looking into something that you don't mind the smaller package because it's a small radio, but you want something that just does the job for whatever you'll need it to listen to shortwave, whether it's SSB utilities and so on. I will always probably say, well, get the Texan PL330. I'm not, I told everybody I like the H501. I'm in love with this radio, but I'm not pushing it. I'm not pushing it because it's definitely an expensive receiver. And apart from the amazing sound quality, FM stereo, stuff like that, um, you get close to the same performance on the Texan PL330, which is much less expensive. And in today's world, if you want to get people on board to shortwave, you can't get people on board saying, "Hey, you got to buy $1,000 radio." You know, there's a guy that was kind of trolling the channel this week and posting, "Well, the only good radios are the ones like the ICOMs and this." Like, no, I'm not in that league anymore. I am not in the league of you got to buy $1,000 radio to DX and have a good time on the radio. I'm not there anymore. It's untrue. You might have, yes, some features that enhance and help out, definitely from very expensive receivers, but you do not need that to DX, and you are capable of DXing as well with a much less expensive receiver. And hear stuff that you will be just blown out of your mind by what you'll hear when you get them, and they work well. So Gang of Four says it's still $235 from Anonco, which is the place that I would tell everybody to buy. Honestly, if you buy it from Anonco. There's a lot of places, and you got to be careful. There's a lot of places that sell these radios much higher priced than Anonco actually sells it. Anything from Texan, anyways, Anonco is great. As Matt says, MDK2, if you're in North America, Anonco is the way to go for any Texan item. Their service is great, quick, and their prices are always better than Amazon's. And remember, guys, if you live in Europe, some of you guys came back to me and said, well, Anonco doesn't ship here. It doesn't ship from the Anonco website. But if you go to the eBay store of Anonco, they will ship from there. It's just because that, from what I understand, is that new VAT tax thing. The Anonco website is not registered to work with that, but through eBay, because eBay is, that works, and you'll be able to they'll be able to ship you a radio from there. But you got to go to the eBay Anonco store rather than going directly to Anonco. Andy New applied for my shortwave call sign ages ago, but nothing yet. You probably have it. One of the things that happens, Andy, is that it goes into the spam folder. It probably has gone to your spam folder in email. Go back to that website and search for it. You'll find it. That's what I did. Mine did go to the spam folder when I got it, and it was issued like 2 weeks before. And I went to the website, and on the website you can search for your call sign. They have the full list of call signs with the names and everything. Go there and find it. It probably is issued. You probably got an email, but it went to the spam folder, and you never see it because it's in the spam or the junk or whatever. Robert Osborne, think I picked up Advances World Radio from Austria this week on 9610 from at 2015 UT in Niagara Falls. Totally possible. It's totally possible. Robert, at that time on 9610, yes, it's possible. Let's check out quickly here. I'm still 20 minutes behind, but let's check out 1570 Radio Prague. Is it coming in well? Radio Prague via WRMI, if you guys want to listen in. 15770. 15770. They contain many of the most important works by the Greek photographer Joseph Kodelka. So that's on the Texan H501. There's some fading. Kodelka, born in 1938, made a global impact with his stunning. Now let's try it on the ATS 25 here. So we'll key in 1577. Whoops, wrong frequency. Key in. By the way, guys, that if you buy a ATS 25, I would suggest you get yourself a stylus. So here it is, but on the ATS 25. A decade and a half of discussions, and was delayed further by the COVID situation. While in Prague in September for the formal handover, the photographer, wearing his trademark military circle-style green shirt, spoke at the Ministry of Culture in Mala Strana. Kodelka, now aged 83, said he'd recently been taking an unprecedented delve into his extensive archives. As you see, so once again, that ATS 25 is on the W6LVP loop up here, just to give an idea. It works. So that's Radio Prague 15770. N6RLS, nice to have you on board from sunny and noisy Blue Angel Jets nearby Berkeley, California. Or maybe you mentioned it does you'd broadcast on shortwave. I also listen to CKUT show, great info. No, it doesn't broadcast on shortwave. Although sometimes there are some pirates that actually do rebroadcast my voice in my show for a while. But it's kind of cool. It's kind of cool to when it happens. And as for CKUT, we're on the local station here in Montreal, which is 90.3 FM. And so the show is already put up. I uploaded the show last night. We record the International Radio Report on Friday afternoon. Me and Sheldon, we do it virtually through Skype, and I upload it. I edit. Takes about 2 hours to edit, and once it's the edit is done and sounds good, I upload it to the CKUT computer and cue it for its playtime on Sunday morning. So it's there now, waiting to be aired on the radio tomorrow. Kevin says, my original call was KD2CVG, and US I applied for a 4-call WS2H when I acquired my amateur extra privileges, short calls, help, and pileups. Yeah, and contests, stuff like that. Definitely. What do the 3 dots mean? Where? At the end of the sentences? It's simply where you can get a menu where there's different options. If that's what you're asking for. John Meckham, it looks like, whoops, just lost. Try to catch up a little more here. Looks like a rather breezy and cool day in your neighborhood based on the trees in the back. Nice setup to do shortwave listening club indeed. Yeah, nice big backyard here. And there's a table and chairs. There was actually enough place in my backyard here to definitely have a few dozen people in the backyard for a party and a club meeting. That would definitely be a woodwork. Keegan says, if I let my beard grow long enough, I compare it to David Letterman retirement beard. Hi, Luke. Nice to have you on board from Oakville. Rich, nice to have you here from North Carolina. Shocking radio news. Sweater weather creates static. Yes. And you got to be careful when you touch telescopic antennas, especially if you wear a sweater and you're standing on a carpet and that it's really, really dry in your home. You've got You've got to be careful. The Rock 80, nice to have you here. The Rock 80. I'm missing little parts of my vocal cords. It shows that I sang quite a lot yesterday. So you send the email back. Let me see here. Oh, here it is. And I got it now. Nick. So says, hey, I'm delighted to tell you I've bought that recommended Texan PL330 for outdoor use. I thought I was opening the package with the wrong model at first. One at the back of the box, as seen below, was all in Chinese. But no, yeah. But inside the box, thankfully, there was an English user manual. Yeah, it happens a lot with the Texan receivers. That's what happens. But they have a printed English manual that they put in there. So cool. Two quick questions. I have an old mobile phone with an old BL5C B-rated 3.7 volt battery in it. The fact that it's 800 milliamps shouldn't be a problem. Should it um, should it be a backup for my Texan supplied BL5C battery? My understand is that milliamp is just the length of charge with it. Yep, in battery, that's something that a lot of people have a hard time thinking. Should I buy this? Is that rating okay? When you buy batteries, whether it's like lithium ion batteries for a radio or regular batteries, for the fact, regular AA rechargeables, for example, two things are happening. When you power a radio, it has a voltage. The voltage, you got to be careful. So anything that uses 3.7 volts, for example, like the lithium ion battery stuff, you got to keep it in the range of 3.7 volts. There is a tolerance. I mean, if you give it 4 volts, it's probably going to be fine. There's a tolerance accepted within there, but give it the voltage that it needs. Give it 3.7. If you have a radio that wants 9 volts, always make sure that the power supply, whatever you do it, keeps it's 9 volts. That's important to keep the same. But you'll have a rating, milliamp hour, or milliamps or amps or whatever, depending on what you're actually powering. If you buy a power supply for a radio and the radio says, oh, you got to buy a power supply that is rated 6 volts, 300 milliamps, you don't have to have the power supply exactly 300 milliamps. You want it 6 volts because you need the same voltage. But if you have a 6 volts, 1000 milliamp power supply, it's going to do the job fine. The radio only sucks in the amount of power it actually needs. The advantage of a power supply that has a higher rating, if you need it for something else that's also 6 volts, it might be possible to power stuff that needs more current. So for the battery, it's the same thing. So the battery within the Texan PL330, I think, is at 1020 milliamp hour. Your mobile phone is 800 milliamp. It's still going to work. It's just that the mobile phone one will not last as long as the original one from the radio because it is rated a little less. But it's fun. You can use a battery that has a higher rating in milliamps. It's all right. If you have a battery that is rated higher, it's just going to last longer. Because once again, the radio just takes what it needs. It doesn't that it's just the voltage is extremely important. He says, my main purpose of buying the radio was to use in a relatively QRM-free location away from the property to listen to much discussed lower and upper sideband modes in the aperture radio bands. What is your opinion to use in the form of an aerials, as I am sure I can do better than the rod aerial of the radio itself? So he's talking about Amazon that has XH Data AN80 FM shortwave radio antenna, Texan AN03 and AN05 combination version for XH Data Texan. Yeah, you know what? Just just a wire is often enough. It's simple, and you can, if you have a low noise environment, you can put one that's really long that's going to pick up a lot of signal, and it's going to work fine. I'm not fond of commercially made antennas. I'm not fond of buying antennas that cost money for shortwave listening when very often a wire works well. The reason why I purchased like an MLA 30 or anything else is because here it's noisy, and okay, I could have built my own loop. There are designs on the internet, but the the most of the time, wires and just having fun with different lengths of wires and combinations or ways to put, making dipoles yourself with just wires and so on. I think that's already in a low noise environment works really, really well. And don't need to buy anything. An MLA 30 is good because if you live in a very noisy environment, a wire just increases the noise and the signal together. So it's not necessarily better. Yeah, you get more signal, but you got more noise, and it kind of equates. It kind of is the same. Where a magnetic loop will lower the noise, but if you are in a quiet place, if you go away somewhere where it's so quiet, just put the 100 feet of wire there and in the trees or whatever, and you're going to be astonished at what you get. Harold Anderson, nice to have you on board. LB1NH. George, here's something to ponder. If we allow for frequency range response, different forms of radio modulation discernible, I'm convinced that AM is superior to FM, DAB. What you need to know is that each form of radio modulation and each form of transmission format has its advantages and disadvantages. AM is not necessarily better or worse than FM or DAB or whatever. AM, if you would give it a really huge bandwidth, could have definitely have a pretty surprising audio fidelity. It's all depending on what the use is for. There are, for example, a lot of people always ask the question, why is the VHF airband AM when everything else in the VHF range is FM? Because in lower signals and with some interference, it has been demonstrated that voice communications can actually still go through in tough environments on AM mode, where on FM it can be garbled to a point of that you just don't understand. So that choice was made for that. So each mode of transmission has its positives and negatives. DAB, which is digital formats like HD radio, a digital format in North America. Advantage, yeah, it increases the audio quality. It gives you content that you can read, that you can see. And it's nice when it works well. disadvantage, it's easier to lose the signal. Why? In DAB, if the signal gets weak, the radio loses lock, so you hear nothing anymore. It's there or not. It's not halfway there. But if you would have the same transmission on FM, standard analog FM, well, analog FM fades in and out, but when it's weak, it can often still listen and hear what's happening. You know. Colonels G0ZEN. Nice to have you here from Ankara, Turkey. Or Gozen. I said G0. It's Grozen. Probably it's Gozen, the name. I thought it was a call sign. Sorry. It's TA2GK, the call sign from Ankara, Turkey. Nice to have you here, my friend. Did I get my hands on a Belka DX? Nope. Maybe that could be one of the things to get soon. We'll see. But nope, never did get my hands on a Belka DX. So Radio Prague 15770 still coming in. Mag 315, nice to have you here from North Carolina. N6RLS says he's got his shortwave call sign WA6143SWL. Got it a few weeks ago, and had Popular Electronics and Popcorn shortwave call sign back when they had those happening. Keegan is using his Ethon Grundig Field Edition BT radio and Ethon Grundig Edition satellite with SSB. Tim Mitchell got interested when his dad brought home a Allocrafters S22R. What's the best poutine found in Montreal, says the export? That's a tough one because I am not a huge fan of poutine, but there's definitely some nice places in town. There's for a commercial type poutine, I would say Poutineville is a pretty nice place. But you know what? I would go to probably what looks like a cheap, um, you know, joint, cheap restaurant in a corner that looks like a little restaurant from the neighborhood. And I would tell you that probably those little restaurants have a better poutine than many, many others. Um, and many, many big chains of restaurants. John Beckham, in the early days of AM radio, where lots of low power stations, such 5,000 watts back in the day, a 15,000 watt AM station was considered a true powerhouse. Yep, I miss that. I miss that there was um, so many smaller, lower powered stations on AM. It was a lot of fun. What else do we have? Robert Paul, my interest started with my Bionic Man static powered AM radio. Hooked up a alligator clip to a metal fence and put it in the earbud. No batteries. Cool. It's like crystal radios. Elia, been getting a lot of Super Bowl Channel 6 in Australia in the morning on 27025. Cool. Ricardo, nice to have you on board, my friend from Portugal. Bubbles loves is 330. Khalid, I own APL 330 and I really love it. It's definitely an amazing radio. Device 9, as a kid, used to medium wave DX with a pocket transistor radio. Was amazed that I could get KOMA and at night in South Idaho. Although was the only station playing rock and roll at the time. Cool. So that's where you got your music. I had there was a station here, a low power station that was in a city called Saint Hyacinthe, and I remember they had a top like from 7 to 9 p.m. every weekdays. They had a call in show where you would just ask for your favorite songs. I love that. I was listening to that station all the time. Keegan has 15,000 WWV and WWV8 underneath at times. S5 out of S5. PLF Radio, do you know these two tunable ferrite long wave, medium wave antennas? Let me check this one. Yeah, I've seen that. I've seen that. Somewhere. I've definitely seen that somewhere. I've never really looked at them. Yeah, I've never, but I definitely have seen those. I remember seeing those. So this is what 35. So 40 euros would be about 60, 70 Canadian dollars. It looks interesting. Um, Maybe that could be something worth buying and checking out and testing out here on the channel. Danny, HK4DAH, nice to have you on board from Colombia in South America. Cool. Nice to have some people from South America. Khalid, are there certain conditions that are better quality in shortwave, winter, summer, sun, night? It all depends. There's a lot of things that happen on shortwave. So every season has its DX moments. And when you listen a lot, you notice that, each season has its time of day that is better than the rest. In general, in the midday, like around noon, is probably the time when you probably DX the less or have less a chance of getting some really, um, you know, uh, a lot of signals for all sorts of reasons. But it's generally admitted that, like late afternoon, evening, night, and early morning is probably the better. But every season has its shifting patterns that you got to follow, um, for sure. And of course, higher solar activity brings in higher frequencies. So when you see solar activities picking up, solar flux gets higher. Well, anything above 15 megahertz and even 20 megahertz will suddenly come alive much better because higher frequencies will propagate more. It's really it's a very complex propagation itself is a very complex thing, and you get a drift as you listen through different times of day, different frequencies. Then you get a drift of, oh, look, like in the summertime I hear that better than in the wintertime, and so on. It's really a question of listening in at every time of day, try different frequencies, and whatever season you're in, there are some. Each season will bring you its own DXing fun, and depending on what you want to listen to. So, hey, Chris, to have you on board, my friend. Joseph says there's a video on the ATS-25 on YouTube showing the inside. Not much, no filtering and other common parts. Small board behind, front panel, DSP chip, and power section. Yeah, it's mainly driven by a computer. It's a small computerized receiver, but it's definitely better than the ATS-20 in many respects because in parts where there's a lot of strong stations, the weak stations nearby actually come in well on the ATS-25 where they don't on the ATS-20. Let me check something here. I want to see if. So I don't know if there's going to be traffic, but if you guys want to try a M12 Morse code station from Moscow, Russia, number station, we're going to try that in 15 minutes time. Any pirates popped up since we started the show? It seems like it's pretty quiet. It's still early here, honestly, for pirate stations. Um, sun sets quite early now here. It's going to set in less than an hour from now. So definitely we're getting into a different, slowly going to winter. It's actually quite warm. Honestly, 70 Fahrenheit, 21 Celsius is about 7 degrees above the temperature we should have at this time of year, roughly. It should be more in like the upper 50s um, at this time of year here. And it's going to be like this weather. We're going to have 70 to mid 70s even for the next week, pretty much all week. So it's like really beautiful weather here. Eric Control, I think I pointed out receiving 25 megahertz last winter during a show. I also have heard this 14 megahertz CHU frequency, but not very often. Yeah, well, that one I remember of that 14 megahertz CHU frequency that you heard, I think was last winter, real well. And I checked and I could not believe how strong the CHU was on 14670. I had never heard it that strong. It was very unique propagation. Here, 14670 is pretty much always an impossible task. Let's try it just now to see if I hear something. Nope. Let's try 7850. Nope. And 3330. 3330 coming in well, weak, but there. So let's try it. So this is 3330 CHU. Kind of weak on the Texan H501X. Let's key in 3330 here. 3, 3, 3, 0. Enter. And it's not very strong here. Also on the ATS 20, kind of weak. Almost impossible to tune in. It's interesting because I've been comparing reception just before the live show started, ATS 25 and H501X, to see if I could discern some difference in sensitivity of different signals and different frequency ranges. And I got to say that I've not seen really any difference. Anything that the H501X received, I could get on the ATS 25. So this is kind of interesting because it shows that the ATS 25 is actually not bad of a receiver. I've seen quite a few saying that the receiver was horrible. It's not. I'm sorry, it's not. I don't know what these guys are doing with it, but it's not. But then again, I'm using it almost all exclusively on an outdoor antenna. That's something that probably makes a difference for sure. Jim's radio check says radios are like cars. Some people prefer Fords, some prefer Dodge, some prefer Texan over Ethon. Yep, absolutely. We all have our preferences. We all have a different take and a different thing we like, and it's fine. What else do we have? Mag 315 likes older radios and using is Grundig Satellite 800 tonight. Cool. Danielle Hacker, nice to have you here, says he's using a realistic DX200. Sorry. Cool. Alostio Penido, nice to have you here from Brazil. BU4MDY. Nice to have you here. Vojislav, nice to have you here. Also quite happy with the PL330. Got it in a week from an Onco in Serbia, which is amazing. Price really good. And I managed to use old Nokia battery with it. Yep. And those BL5Cs are easy to find everywhere. So, you get yourself, I got a charger, an external charger, plus I probably got like 4 BL5Cs now. So I just, remove, if the battery dies, and remove, pop in another one, put that one on the charger rather than charging from the radio. And you know. We have Rich says I was very pleased with Anonco customer service. I received a PL 330 with bad encoder. Anna sent return postage paid and refund followed shortly. Awesome. I ordered and now have a great unit. Anonco is the best place to buy any Texan products, and it's the best. Nobody has the prices of Anonco. Anonco is the only one. If you want to have the best, price for any Texan, Anonco is the place. Anonco is definitely the place. For those that don't know what Anonco is, here is Anonco. I'll share the link to it. Their website is here. Um, Pretty much kind of an official Texan radio dealer. And they have a lot of stuff. You can check it out. Anonco is definitely the place, and it's always really fast shipping. Always. And then 6RLS just got VOA signing off on 15185. David Jones, is Malashite radio any good for starting in SDR? It depends what you're looking at. For starting in SDR, I would get something that plugs into a computer instead. I would not get a Malahite thing. Uh, because it's almost a delicate subject sometimes when you start talking about the Russian Malahite, the Chinese Malahite, and everybody's like, yeah, well, you should have bought a Russian one. It's like, I don't want to buy it. That's all. And I bought a Chinese one, and that's it. Um, it had some issues, but it works well now that I've fiddled with it, and I like it. I like the way that it works and the waterfall and everything. But here's the thing, and I might tickle. I get these people telling me, it's like, well, this is killing those SDRs, portable SDRs, going to kill the regular receivers like this. Nope, it's not for me at least. I do you guys see me? I use that little ATS 25 here, but it's more like a little portable radio. It doesn't have the waterfall like the Malahite whatever receiver does. For me, a waterfall cannot be this big. It's useless. It's useless. An SDR, okay, two things in an SDR that you want. The capabilities that it brings you. Now, that, like the Chinese Malahite that I have, and that noise reduction feature, yeah, pretty amazing. And for that, they have it. But my real use of an SDR is to see what's happening in the spectrum. You don't see anything on this big of a screen. Nothing. You see, 200 kilohertz. I don't care. I don't want to see 200 kilohertz. I want to see a couple of megahertz. Because there's going to be that signal. I might be on 7205, and I'm going to see that signal pop up mysteriously on 8824. And I'm like, what is that? Click. Those little screens, you don't see that wide. You see a small chunk, a very small chunk. My fun of an SDR is using it for signal chasing, seeing what's on the spectrum on either side. You don't have that fun with a portable SDR. The screen is too small for that. And they're often underpowered because they're using those little Arduinos or stuff like that aren't as powerful as using a real, computer if you want. So, as a starting SDR, I'm not sure that's necessarily a good idea. It's a very unique device. These are, for me, novelty devices that are unique in their own ways and what they do, but not necessarily what somebody should buy as a starter radio or anything. Harold Anderson, antenna is the most important thing. You must have a good antenna. Indoor antennas are not very good. Using a long wire outside, much better signals. You have 7 eyes. The small, expensive portables of today are amazing, and you can really enjoy the hobby with them. unlike the equivalent situation back in the 80s when such radios were usually deaf, drifty, and poor. Yeah, we live in a different world. Totally live in a different world. If we had radios like that, like a Texan PL330 in 1982 when I started, um, I'm sure that my hobby would have been even more fun because these radios are amazing for what you have today. I mean, there's no drift today. This is like, these radios drift. Nope. What are you calling? I'm pretty sure somebody coming to the hobby, newbie in the hobby, with a Texan PL330 or something like that is people are going to say, well, oh, those portables drift. And it's like drift. What's drift? What do you mean by drift? I don't know what you mean because I bet you that a lot of owners of portables that start out today, when we say, oh, the radio drifts, it's like, what's drifting? I don't know what you're talking about. Of course, they don't drift today. They're so rock solid. It's incredible on their smack on frequency, and they're going to stay there for hours and hours and hours without you touching any buttons. Back when I got my DX302, which was higher, kind of a step up from the DX100, it was after 30 minutes, it was pretty stable. But back then, we accepted the fact that if I'm listening to a single sideband transmission, I will need to touch the BFO a little bit every 15, 20 minutes because, the pitch is slowly drifting away and you want to just replace it. But good radios were pretty stable. And of course, higher end radios like the Kenwoods and the Icoms of the time still drifted a little bit, but were in general, you would have to listen really a long time before you had to readjust. Today, there's no drifting. It's like, your radio smack on that signal in single sideband, and you'll come back 6 hours later and still smack on nothing you do, nothing to touch. Imagine if we had that back in the 70s and 80s. We had that. We had that in $1,000 receivers. And even then, today we got that in a $50 radio and a $70 radio. It's just amazing. And like you said, buying a receiver in the 70s, the 80s, a portable radio was a kind of an, almost a, you almost had luck. It's like you needed luck. If you didn't know what you were buying, you either would buy a good radio, or you would buy a bad radio, or you would buy an okay radio. And there were some bad portables out there in the 70s and 80s. There were some really good ones. It a lot went with the price back then. You bought a $500 portable back in 85. You'd definitely almost always have a really good radio compared to a $100 portable back then. Today, it's not, the price isn't necessarily telling you it's better anymore. It adds features, it adds things to the radio, but it's not necessarily, if you buy a radio at 200, you got a radio that's often going to be as good as the one at 100. And look at the Texan PL 330. It's as good as it's as good as a Texan H501 in receive. There's definitely no difference there. Anything I get here, I'll get on that 330. So you could say I like the luxury of the H501 and the better sound of the FM stereo. And the fact that it's a big radio, fun to play with. Of course, it does feel more quality with metal knobs and everything. But am I going to tell you, Oh no, you got to get the H501X at $300 US. I'm never gonna I'm never gonna say that. If you do have that amount of money to spend and want a good radio, it's like, oh, I got 400 for a radio. I want to spend that amount of money. Okay, H501X, go get that. You're gonna be happy with that thing. But if you just tell me I want a radio that receives well and that does the job, Texan PL330 is the all-around winner right now. It has flaws, like every radio has flaws. I mean, the Texan PL330 has the major flaw of, having the muting when you tune. And I got to say, people that use that tuning knob, yeah, you might not be happy. But remove that, amazing radio. Man, I'm not reaching the end of the chat today. I'm talking too much. So let's continue and try to go a little faster here. Try to, Dwayne, WPE9CZE, VT Radio, Paul, and Vermont, AA1SU. Nice to have you here. Good signal from 15770, which should still be on right now, but with the French language of your Radio Prague. Let me check it out here. Going down. Tony, greetings. Nice to have you here from Ireland. Thanks for all the ATS 25 videos. I see there is an ATS 100 radio, which is more of a pocket radio with a small color screen. Your next radio? Maybe. We'll see. Well, we're going to see what's going to happen. That's not impossible. Zen Faros, nice to have you on board. Following along today with this Sony Shortwave 7600 JR and a Panasonic RFB 45. Great old radios. Nice to have. Those are really, really nice receivers. John Beckham receiving 15770 Radio Prague, Northeast Florida on East Stewart on the 808. Thanks for the station lead indeed. Tony, Radio Prague S10 on the RSPDX. Robert Paul, Radio Prague on the Grenic G6 from Pittsburgh. Keegan has 5085 WTWW. And 6RLS receiving an HK World Radio on 13680. Yeah, David Letterman was absolutely an avid shortwave listener. Absolutely. Chuck Yunkin, nice to have you here. Gacy Squidward says Prague, Radio Prague coming in strong in the UK too. Pretty cool. It's a broadcast from WRMI in Florida. It's a relay from WRMI in Florida and the United States, the Okeechobee transmitter site. Danielle, 15770. Good in Denver, Colorado with the ATS 909X2 from St. Gian. Joe Michaels, happy Thanksgiving. Yeah, happy Thanksgiving to all Canadians. We are Thanksgiving weekend here. Absolutely. I don't really have any, I don't do anything special for Thanksgiving. It used to be something when my sister that died of cancer was there, because she would always invite us for Thanksgiving. But when she died, that kind of tradition kind of went away with the family. WS9 Radio Prague 15770, barely readable from Western Washington. George Gregg. You led me into your Facebook group earlier. I've enjoyed watching your channel for at least a year now. Cool. Welcome aboard. Welcome aboard. Andy New. Yay, my call sign was there. So greetings from MA3307 SWL. Thanks, Joe. Yeah, I knew it was there. It happened to me too. Zemfaro says I have 1500 milliamp hour batteries with my PL330. Works great and lasts long, just as you described. Tony, new Pocket ATS 100 SI 4732 looks a lot smaller form factor than the PL 36568. It's going to be something to check out. Should a long wire be connected to ground? Not necessarily. Not necessarily. Not in, especially on portable radios. On a tabletop receiver, often you have grounding capabilities. That could be something to consider. But no, not necessarily. Especially if your ground wire is very long, it doesn't act as a ground anymore, so it doesn't really matter. I bet you that most people that have their stations grounded, the wires are so long to the ground rod that they just don't even know that they're not grounded. A ground wire has to be extremely short and extremely well made to be a ground wire. Spooky shortwave. Jazz Tank, nice to have you on board from Louisville, Kentucky. I'm going a little faster, guys. Going to want to try to reach the end of the chat a little faster because I'm really far behind. What else do we have? Zenfaro says, one loop I made out of 10 feet of quarter-inch copper tube from the hardware store and a new Elec HF low noise amplifier for 30 dB. A bit smaller than the MLA 30 Plus and works better in 5 to 20 megahertz range. Interesting. Fun to play around with antennas. Mob All Armored Strike Command, nice to have you here. What do we have? Actually, AM is not necessarily that much ground wave propagation and VHF range. Because it's also line of sight. You do not go much more beyond, but an AM signal, when it's very weak, is easier to hear than an FM signal that is very weak. Jay Gilbert, nice to have you here. Jace from Melbourne, Australia. Robert Cross repairs old vintage radios. Cool. Yep. Radio Prague, Squidward. Radio Prague pays airtime on WRMI, like a lot of broadcasters. Radio Tirana from Albania, RAE Argentina, and so they pay airtime. It costs less money to do that than to have their own transmitter sites and have to it is a much cheaper way to stay on the air. Zenfaros 15770. Cool. Erica Chell. Jimmy's near the stadium had decent poutine. Yeah, these are the places I would go to, honestly, for poutine. The standard, restaurant that you have at in the neighborhood is pretty much where I would go for poutine if I wanted to have something that's fairly good. Vladimir, how's the wind meter helps the radio wave reception? No, it's not for radio waves reception at all. It's just to measure the wind and have for my weather station in my office, so I know what's the weather outside. Tony says Radio Havana 15370. So pretty cool. AE1TP A92GW. Tom, nice to have you on board. Worked on AM in Maine 1340 and Georgia 910. Was great fun. Early mid 80s. Eric Cottrell, no trip to Montreal is complete without a stop at La Banquise. Oh, yeah, La Banquise is well known for the poutine, absolutely. Um, La Banquise is a well known place. Poutineville is also a pretty well known place. It's a chain, and they have, I don't know how many different different types of poutine in there. Same thing. But La Banquise is a known spot in the Plateau Mont Royal near the Parc La Fontaine Park. Device 9 crystal radios were great. I remember wandering around the house testing for ground. I had a lot of fun playing around with that too. That's also I got an electric shock one day because one of the lamps in the bathroom was not well grounded, and I touched the sink and I touched the lamp and I got an electric shock. Squidward, general questions. When DXing, is it best to have the target station and your reception area at night? Um, is it best to have the target station and your reception area at night? I'm not sure I catch the question. If it's is it better at night? Well, usually, what happens with shortwave a lot, even in North America, even though we don't have a lot of stations that now target us, it is um, a it is better in late afternoon and evening, night, often for the fact that stations tend to use that time to, um, you know, send their signal to the target area we live in. But it is kind of a known fact that usually from late afternoon to early morning, that period of night, evening, night, and so on, often brings us more DX. But it's a complex thing because it depends on seasons and depends on a lot of things, and also the latitude where you live. The closer you are to the poles, the more there's all sorts of things happening that might kind of render that rule not necessarily true depending on the season you're in. AMAD Radio DXer, no problem. Take care. What proportion of vodka in juice? I usually have 1.5 ounce of vodka, and the rest is actually I because I don't want to drink too much juice, so I do 1.5 ounce of vodka, diet cola, and the rest here is the cranberry. So there's not too many calories. But yeah, La Banquise is a known place in Montreal. That's true. But I'm not, I'm not. No, my singing is more in the. I'm a tenor in my singing, and I can go quite high. George, previous transition valve radios could be surprisingly compact if we allow for that much of them would be taken up by batteries or power supply. Many were better designed than given credit for. There's even on the on the old tube receivers, there were some really amazing radios in there. That's for sure. That's for sure. Vladimir, will you test the PL990X today? Loved your review on it. Well, I'm not. I'm set up with the H501 and the Texan H501 and the ETS25 for today, but maybe next time I'll crank up the 990X. Let me just go. If I miss out and not say hi, just say hi again and not a long time. I'm going to try to reach the bottom of the chat room a little faster. Um, Kieran News says, love seeing people that enjoy the programs we put out. I work for the company that owns Wolferton, Ascension, and many more. Cool. Cool. Jetcrafter has 7850 CHU booming in Maine with a Counticom GP5 and MLA 30. What else do we have? KW1161, nice to have you on board from a warm and sunny Tucson, Arizona. John Beckham, I would say that probably the Radio Shack DX160 was their best-selling shortwave radio. Yeah, it was a very popular model. A very popular model. It's when you start, hearing of what the first radio was for a lot of people, the DX160 was definitely one of them. Zenfaros completely agree about Anonco and Texan, especially PL330. John Becken, does anybody out there remember any of those old magazine publications such as Popular Electronics, Electronics Illustrated, Radio, TV Experimenter, Great Electronic Obvious magazines indeed? There's a lot of stuff that you had in the time, I can tell you. John Risson, agree with the original. Malahide is not for the beginner. It takes time to understand SDR and the inner workings. Yep. Scooter Crane's enjoying the show. Cool. Robert Osborne receiving CFRX Toronto 6070, which I never get. And they have 1 kilowatt transmitter. Yep, 1 kilowatt. If you could buy any vintage radio new back when it was released, what would it be? I definitely want a Sony ICF 2010, also known as the Sony ICF 2001D. I'd want one of those brand new. I would, any other radio? There's quite a few. There's many Panasonic models that I would love to have. There's quite a few of these. Zenfaros, drift sort of went away with PLL and decent crystal oscillation. Even before they were all TCXO crystal controlled, PLL portables were pretty stable. Tony, good radios in the 80s were so expensive, though. Yep. In real terms of the prices, that come way down since. When somebody comes in here and says, well, it's so expensive to get into the hobby today, I feel like telling them, man, you should have started shortwave in the 70s and 80s. A good radio was darn expensive. So expensive. I mean, let's check Voice of Turkey. Not on the air tonight. They're often not there. They might pop up a little later. But 9830 right now is nothing on it. 9830, nothing there. What else do we have? Let's check out some frequencies here. 5995. Let's check out Mali. I don't hear Mali very much tonight. It's 5995. Nothing much for Mali. Let's check. Put steps at 5 kilohertz. What is there? Got CFRX a little bit on 607 now. WBCQ on 6160. Let's key in. Let's key in. Did I get? I don't know. I thought a cat went by. The voice of Greece. Let's key in the voice of Greece on our radio here. 9420 420. How about Greece? Very weak signals. I don't know if something's happening, but a lot of signal seems to be kind of weak. Key. Unless my antenna has some problems. 9420. No, Greece is good. I think I noticed something. Nope. No, Greece is not too bad, actually. So Greece 9420 with some music. Anything on 9395? Oh, it's our friend John. Voice of the report of the week on 9395 kilohertz. So if you guys want to listen to the voice of the report of the week, 9395 kilohertz, WRMI, coming in well. So let's try to go down. Mike WX50, nice to have you here. Yep, absolutely. The antenna is important. John Beck, I'm partial to the Radio Wow and the XH Data and Ceodon DO808. They're all great radios. I mean, Ceodon or XH Data D808 is an amazing radio. Absolutely. Tony says Holland has more pirate radios per head of population than any other country. Yep, that I would almost say yes, absolutely. I would. There's so many over there for sure. Jackie Gleason was also a shortwave listener. Canadian Radio TV guy, nice to have you on board. Happy Thanksgiving. What does the ground wire effectively do, says Jace Gilbert? It's an antenna system is a thing that has a balance. So antennas, and depending on what type of antenna you're using, a ground will help it balance itself and increase its possibilities, increase its performance if you want. So in some cases, in certain types of antennas, you might need to ground it. Grounding a radio in general is known to, in some cases, lower interference. But grounding, like I said, is a very complex thing. If you put a very long wire to ground, its effect is totally unpredictable. Eric Cottrell, interesting effects if a ground wire is a quarter wavelength and you transmit. Andy New, sorry to hear about your sister. Was recently diagnosed with prostate cancer and will be commencing radiotherapy on October 28th. Well, I hope everything goes well, my friend. And keep the spirit up and listen to the radio. And of course, join us here. It's a great place to keep the mind off of times when it's not, the best. But I think we wish you all the best. That's for sure, all of us. Just gonna check it out. John Beckham, our resistor is still color coded, most of them, but It depends on what type of resistor you have, because the smaller ones sometimes the surface mount ones are not always color coded. But yeah, for a big chunk of them, it's still color coding. What's the pulley here? It's to put a to hang the clothes. Usually there's the clothesline here. When I arrived here in 2000, there was actually a clothesline here that went to the other side. But when it broke, I never replaced it because I dry everything in the dryer. Darren Rogers, nice to have you here from Long Island, New York. See, Marchi, it depends what you want to do, because dipoles are usually cut for specific frequency ranges. So you'll choose a dipole depending on where you want to use your radio the most. But as I always say, experiment and try different things and try just lengths of wire and just have fun, honestly. There's no real good answer necessarily to what's the best antenna for shortwave, because it's such a wide frequency range that no antenna is good everywhere equally. And so when we start going more in advanced antenna construction, usually we'll favor antennas that will work with the frequency ranges we tend to go to the most, and accept the fact that on some other ranges it might not be as good, even though it's still going to be okay. So I got the idea, Squidward. Let me try to catch up over here as best as I can. As best as I can. So let's check it out here. John Hummel Newell, VE5JHN. Nice to have you here. Like a beautiful day in Montreal. Happy Thanksgiving. Yeah, it's getting a little cooler, but not bad. Not bad. St. Pharaohs. I agree. I had a 2010 Lost in the Fire. Oh, Drake R8. Yeah. Drake R8B. Try it out. I like that. I remember when the Kenwood R5000, when I got my Kenwood R5000 in 1990, the Drake R8 was out, but it was more expensive, and with limited amount of money, it was like, I went to the Kenwood R5000 because I could have it. I think it's just it's what I got anyways, but well, when you get a Truth, Money, and Freedom, when you get an XH Data D808, you're at the right place to learn to use it. I can tell you that. And all the videos online and everything. William Helms, nice to have you here from Florida. Yep, nice weather. SoCal from Ramona, California. Nice to have you here. What else do we have? William Helms might have a Yacht Boy 400 coming his way soon. Oh, that was a nice radio. It's a nice little portable. Can tell you that. Dwight VORW 9395 coming in Henwell and Coastal Virginia. Keegan 9395 was the report of the week. What else do we have? Try to get down as fast as we can. I'm going to try to reach the bottom. I'll try to reach the bottom. Dave says 93.95 has not been great last week here in Indy. I'm on MBZen, listening to Voice of the Report of the Week 93.95 via an online Kiwi SDR. John Beckham, so WF7I Homebrew, sharing a book about grounding. John Beckham, glad to give you some tips. Okay, yeah. Yeah, grounding is like the other half of the antenna, depending on what you are using as an antenna. But a lot of antennas do not need grounding. It depends on the type of antenna. The clothesline pulley is just begging to be part of an antenna. It used to, because the wire, the clothesline that was there was one of those metal wires. So it was actually used for that purpose for a while. When I arrived here, I would tap on it with an alligator clip so that I could actually listen to shortwave. But as noise increased, it became less and less interesting to use it, honestly. Zenfaro says here in the US, Drake R8 was the least expensive of all of those. Yeah, here the Drake R8 came up to at least $400 or $500 more expensive. Thank you for the happy Canadian Thanksgiving. John McIncome, someone confirm with me that the Monarch M1 tube shortwave receiver was a Japanese clone of Aleph Crafters. Yeah, that's what we had seen the other day. Somebody had mentioned that it was apparently a clone. So I don't know exactly, but it's possible. Let's check out. So the sun is setting. It's getting cooler also. Temperature is probably not as as warm as it was earlier. What do we have here? Any pirates have popped up since? So an ID pirate on 6925 AM. Let's check that out. 6925. And let's tune around and see if we hear anything else. Nothing much here. We will try something in 15 minutes. We have the Iqaluit weather station. I believe that is going to be online on 6507. Let's try 6501 first of all. Very weak, but it's there. 6501. Let's try 8764. There seems to be some station. I'm going to actually put 6501 here. See if I can hear any station, upper sideband. So this is 6501. We have the Chesapeake, Virginia marine weather broadcast on 6501. That's on the ATS 25 here. I'm going to step 1 kilohertz. So here I put myself on 6507. I'm going to wait because at I think it's 2230 to 2235. we're going to get the Iqaluit. So 6507 at 2235. So we're going to wait for Iqaluit weather on 6507. Just see if we can hear Iqaluit Nunavut, Canada, which would be nice. Kenny Gloss says, finally bought myself an H501X and been enjoying it, really wanting to take it outside. But of course, it's been off and rainy. So yeah, you'll have time to use it. It's a great radio, and I think it's going to have a lot of fun. And it's nice to have a big radio. Today, it's difficult. Most portables are very small. So when you like big radios and you get one of those portables today, it's all these little small packages. So that H501 has that advantage of being a big radio. Is Paul's girlfriend in the house? No, she's somewhere else. I don't know where she is. She was here like 10 minutes ago. I did barely see her. She came quickly, but she's gone. Usually she comes in later at night, before nighttime. Especially now, she comes in more often because it's colder at night. So we go down to the 40s. And I've noticed that she's been coming in to sleep here inside more often now that it's getting cooler. So I'm expecting that this winter she's going to be here a lot. She's kind of getting used to the fact that she can stay inside, and she still has this. One of the biggest problems is she has this kind of she feels unsure. So if there's anything unusual in the house, she gets scared really, really quick and wants to go out. I mean, just putting this this sweater. I think it was this week. I put on this sweater, and she panicked. It was like, "Wow, what are you doing?" So, Robbie Strike, nice to have you here. Thank you very much, and of course, happy Thanksgiving to all our Canadian audience. You guys in the U.S. is going to be next month, so 3-day weekend for a lot of people. Hello again, there, Khalid. What else do we have? Chaz Tank says H501 reminds me of the portables from the 80s. Gonna get one someday. It does have more of an 80s style radio feel to it. Absolutely. Absolutely. Device 9 is getting great multi-pad reverb on NHK. Let's see if I can get anything here on 13680. There's something very weak in the noise, but not getting anything. I'm getting something on 13640 with a lot of Radio Havana Cuba 13740. What's on 13640? Just going to go back here. Just curious. Let's, out of curiosity, 13640. I'm going to key in that here. 136. Whoops. Let's key in this here. So key in 1, 3, 6, 4, 0. Oh man. Big fingers. 640. There we go. You see here, I'm getting a little bit of FM breakthrough, unfortunately. Let's see if attenuator set. There's something on 13640 that is can make out the language though. So probably some Asian signal. Let's check out on the EIBI list here. 13640 at this time. So it says China Radio International in Japanese. So it must be China Radio International. 22 to 23 in Japanese from so it's China Radio coming in from Asia. John Beckham's receiving 6501 in Florida, which is a Chesapeake, Virginia weather. So let's go back and key in the frequency for, or I'm going to do a little something here. I'm going to key in 10,000 kilohertz. Enter. So we have WWV coming in. Put the step to 5 kilohertz and tune down slowly. So 9980. $9955 WRMI is coming in not too bad. Seems that Voice of Turkey is not there tonight on 9830. There's a song in French on 9670. What's on 9670? The song playing is in French. Oh, that could be channel 292, actually. Wow, the signal is not bad. Channel 292 on 9670. Anybody hearing it? There's a French language song right now. So it seems to be channel 292. It's kind of interesting. Voice of Greece is really strong now. Hearing World's Last Chance with their fixed 500 kilowatt transmitter on 9330. WINB on 9265. I'm going to key in 8, 4. So if I put myself in upper sideband, this is on the ATS 25. 8764 from Chesapeake, Virginia. Let's try 13089. Seems not to be there. One little rant I would have on the ATS 25 that I've just figured out is that so this works on 6501 is that it doesn't keep the mode. So when you switch frequency, if you put yourself in upper sideband and you switch frequency, it diverts back to the default for that band you are in, which is AM or whatever. And you have to re-choose upper sideband. It's a little annoyance, but still. What else do we have? So there will be a Radio Taiwan International do a live broadcast 0 UT today, Taiwan National Day, and send out special QSL cards for reports. Okay. Cool. What else do we have? Kenny Glass says the 80s style design was part of why he was attracted to it. Aha. So the Weinstein has 13640. Shelly, nice to have you here from Pennsylvania. What are you drinking and what radio do you have outside with you? So, well, now I'm out of my usual vodka cranberry, but I've got the Texan H501X here, and I've got the ATS 25 receiver here to listen tonight for some nice little radio. It's kind of cool, kind of cool. We're gonna try for Iqaluit on 6507 in 8 minutes time at 22:35 UT. Hey Frank, take care. 73. What else do we have? Keegan has China Radio International in Japanese. M1 MBZ, thank you. So Channel 292 broadcasting radio waves international in French. That's why they had French music. Well, I'm surprised. I think it was the strongest I've heard Channel 292 on that frequency. Seems to be pretty good. Jetcrafter's got 9670. Device 9 finally found and repaired an intermittent short in is Alicrafter's S76. Need to get it back up in the case. Still resting my back from getting it out and on the bench. Yeah, these things are heavy. What else do we have? Keegan has then 265 WINB. Dwight getting 9670, but weak. Two Broke Tim, why do ham operators use lower sidebands? It's just a convention. That's all. I mean, it's either or upper or lower sideband. So ham operators use upper sideband when they're in higher frequencies, 14 megahertz and above. Lower frequencies are lower sideband. Exception to the rule is the 60-meter band. It's just a convention using upper or lower sideband. I don't think there's a real reason behind why we have, made that like that. And it's not an official rule. I mean, you could be an upper sideband in 40 meters or 80 meters and still you won't, you're not out of you're not out of whack. You're not doing something illegal. But there's conventions of things were decided in the in a certain way, and lower frequencies below 10 megahertz were decided to be lower sidebands simply in that convention. Jill, are you receiving CHU on 14670 coming in well down here in Northeast Florida? No, I never got that frequency. Almost never. I got it once. That skips over me all the time because I'm just 100 miles away from Ottawa. So, Zen Farah, one thing about old versus new is that new radios are way easier to tune to SSB, such as the 8764 upper sideband you mentioned. Got it in seconds on the PL330 compared to the RFB45. Yeah, but the PL330 is exceptional on that because it has very precise tuning. And so that helps. It's like, it's very difficult to explain to people that never had a high-end receiver tune to single sideband. Because when somebody tells me, I don't see what's the fuss of, having that radio over the one I already have, the fact that you have those very precise tuning upper lower sideband, you just go on the frequency. There's no fine tuning to be had. When it's calibrated, you just punch in 8764, you're listening to it in upper sideband. Where any other radio, most other radios, you'll have 8764, but you'll have to use the fine tuning or the BFO to go and get the right pitch for the voice. And that makes it more difficult, absolutely. It adds a layer of difficulty to single sideband. And I've got quite a few people that, come to me and say, well, you know what? I have a hard time trying to listen to single sideband signals. And it's because of that challenge. And the problem also with a radio like the RFB 45 or any other, if you're not sure that it's 8764, you could be actually trying to decode it on 8763 or 8765, and your BFO might not actually reach all the way for the tone to be okay. And then you don't understand why that voice, you just can't zero in on it. And it's because you're off by a kilohertz on one side or the other. And so, there's definitely a challenge when you use a BFO over a very precise tuning receiver. That's why I like the H501X, the PL990X. And in this case, you've got a winner for that and the PL330 also. The official shortwave channel refreshment. John Beckham, the ATS-25 is a great radio, especially since it has has RDS on FM. Absolutely. So let's try it out here. 6507. And we're going to wait for that sign on of Iqaluit. I'm going to wait for the sign on of Iqaluit Radio from Nunavut, Canada. Kelly Bogues Radio, groovy greetings, shortwave listeners. I've been listening to on a flip phone since the broadcast came on. Finally got a laptop where chat is an option. Excited about October shortwave listening. In Southwest Colorado, that's 14670. It's 5 and noisy. We have Jaywin, do you prefer ATS-25 over the Malahite SDR? They're not the same thing. They're not the same thing because the Malachite SDR is an SDR with a waterfall and all of that. They're not the same type of radio. So you can't really compare them. Each has its own unique little thing. No, ATS-25 does not have sync. Jetcrafter has 6577 upper sideband in Maine, hearing both sides of controller in planes, air traffic control. David, KJ4CMY, says there was an early radio that had 9 megahertz IF. It was easier to do LSB below 10 megahertz. In early radio. Okay, so that's one of the things, that probably made it. It's possible. That's an interesting explanation that would explain it, why lower sideband might have been used below 10 for some reason and upper sideband above 10. And it became kind of standard. It's not illegal, absolutely, to do the other way around, but it's, people trying to kind of try to follow the conventions in general. Andy Williams, nice to have you on board. Chris says channel 292 fair in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Nice to have you here. KC5IIE. Zenfaros, even more than that. The RFB45 only tunes in 5 kilohertz. Oh man, that is way too wide. Wow, they don't even have 1 kilohertz tuning. That's kind of crappy. A radio, especially with single sideband, needs to have 1 kilohertz tuning at least. Yep, I'm hearing Iqaluit. Very weak though. It's very weak. It's very weak, but it's there. Woman voice. And I don't know if you guys can hear a little bit. It's very weak, but it's there. It's weak, but it's there. 6507 kilowatt. What else do we have? Keegan says, heard a ham on LSB when listening to WWW on 10 megahertz, 10,000 kilohertz occasionally. Yeah, maybe not a ham, or if you did hear a ham, you probably had an image. It was probably an image from a lower frequency that was also coming up on 10,000 kilohertz in the mixing of the radio. Bubbles doing a quick ETM scan. John Beckham, the extra special is a great shortwave listening club beverage indeed. And 1MBZ, is the 990X much the same as the H501X when it comes to shortwave reception? And the reception itself, yes, they're pretty much the same radio, same sensitivity and everything, precision, all of that. Yep. It's just that you add. It's just that you add the this FM stereo and stuff like that when you come to the H501X, which adds to the capability of the radio, and also the FM antenna that is that you can have an outboard antenna and so on. What's happening with TVDX? I think he's stuck. I think he's probably doing something and kind of stuck, and it does that. Probably TVDX is watching on the tablet or phone, and the phone is the screen. Canadian Radio TV Guide, the frequency is 6507 upper sideband, 40 kilowatt. 6507 upper sideband. You should be hearing a woman voice. I hear it weak. Charlie W8CFO says early SSB generation used 9 megahertz filters. When used on a 5.5 megahertz would generate a USB signal on 20 meters and LSB on 75. Okay. So it has to do with the fact that, and they simply kept the convention that, later on when even if it wasn't needed. So, okay, cool. We learn something every day, guys. Andrew David, greetings from Saranac, most northern Adirondack Mountains of New York. Nice to have you here. Jetcrafter has 6507 weak, but readable in Maine. Zenfaros, yes, but the RFB45 has a gigantic ferrite, so it dominates the game on medium wave. So at least. Getting a kilowatt, although just barely. Cool. Yeah, the sky is all bluish as the sun is setting in the background. Yeah, or maybe it's just, touching something. So, Hey, John Warlison, 69, nice to have you here. Matthews, nice to have you here. Hope you can speak English. The Wind 1960, nice to have you here from New York. So it's cool to have everybody on board. And that's pretty cool. Have any of your neighbors come out to look what you're doing? Yeah, there's a lady. Actually, I could see her. I saw her a few times. There's a lady in the window on the other side, kind of peeking through a window all the time, like wondering, why does this guy have all of these bright spots in his balcony and talking to I don't know what? But apart from that, it's very quiet. It's almost like if all the neighbors aren't there. They're all gone somewhere. I don't know, for the 3-day weekend. It's a super quiet. But it's getting chilly. So at this time in October, at this time of night, people are getting in and they're staying in. That's pretty much what's happening. And But apart from that, there is that lady on the other side that peeks through a window from time to time because I'm kind of wondering what is he doing. Bubbles has WWCR coming in on 9350. Ain't tech guy. Zenfire just swapped my own main loop for MLA 30 plus. Any color it is stronger on the own main, but the signal to noise ratio is just the same. 6704 is low enough that my smaller loop doesn't beat the MLA 30 by much, if anything. What is all the Crafter's Kitchen? How do you like the FM stereo performance on the H5 on the 501X? I've read that stereo separation is excellent. Oh, it's amazing. It's amazing. Put that radio on your lap so that the speakers are really like, each side of your ears. And it's truly amazing. Truly amazing. You clearly detect the stereo. That's really amazing. Any stations on 15230? 15230. Anything here? Nothing here. Let me key it in here. Let me key it here in case 230. Yeah, there is something. Seems in Spanish. I think it's Radio Havana, Cuba. I think it's Radio Havana, Cuba. $30. And yes, indeed, Radio Havana, Cuba. It's in Portuguese right now. So if you're hearing Portuguese, Radio Havana, Cuba on 15230. What else do we have? 11860. Usually here. I don't know if it's still here at this time, but 11860. Got nothing here there. What shows do we have? SD got my H501X yesterday. I'm pressing happy. Greetings from Massachusetts. Yep, great radio, I gotta say. Command 76. Any idea what's on 13560? Maybe a utility? No. 13560 is a frequency for all sorts of instrumentation, scientific measurement instrumentation, RFID, all sorts of things are there on 13560. So you'll hear all of these weird whistles and bells and stuff. It is actually local to you. It's all the instrumentations around you that send all sorts of little bursts of data of every kind, and that's what you're hearing. If I punch it here, you'll hear all sorts of little beeps. 13560, 13560. So, of course, right now I'm not hearing much. Put myself in sidebands. Probably gonna hear the beeps and stuff. Yeah, right now there's like a very constant. Here I'm hearing a very constant kind of white noise. But you'll hear all sorts of things there, usually local to your area. What else do we have? No, it's TVDXer is a fine. He's an okay guy. He's a guy here just north of Montreal. It's just that it happened with a few people when their phones are in their pockets or they put it somewhere and the screen kind of touches. Sometimes it just triggers one thing that comes back over and over and over again in the chat room. We've had that with at least 2-3 times with different participants. And usually it's always, sometimes it's people blocking others all the time, and always the same user because it's kind of just buggy and it does that. And but TV DXer is not a bad guy. He doesn't. We shouldn't block him. What else do we have? Yeah, Matt, something like that. Industry science and monitoring equipment, something like that. I don't know if it's monitoring or whatever, but it's a frequency for all sorts of instrumentation, lab stuff, beacons of all kinds for scientific purpose and so on. Pretty much everything you hear there is local to your area. One thing that I wanted to do, never came up to do, was to use a shortwave radio portable and kind of collapse the antenna and try to walk or pinpoint where some of it might be coming from around here. Keegan, I don't understand why YouTube does not have an option to keep the good comments from someone who was put in timeout. They just don't want to bother. It's all or nothing. It's just all of north or nothing. Khaled searching ETM 150 channels on PL330. Cool. Medical. There you go. Charlie W8CFO Medical. That sounds just right. Industry, science, and medical. Yes, that's what it is. David also in Barcelona said the same thing. Medical. Perfect. Barry says it's part 15 group, so it's all very low power stuff. All very low power stuff. Simon Templar, and I say, have you here? It's definitely very low powered stuff. So almost everything you'll hear there is very local to you. What else do we have? I got an ET background. Entertainment tonight. Christian Marcoux. It's like, tonight on Shortwave News, we have Death by Radio. Yeah, that display is beautiful. Honestly, I like the colors that have been chosen and everything for this radio. I have to say that the ATS-25 does look very, very nice. Definitely. That screen is beautiful. You just saw a bike. All that's missing is the big moon, and the bike goes through. So nice to have everyone here. So Rob, W0RAB in Connecticut, good evening. Nice to have you on board. Oh, Stray Cats has just entered. Girl, Paul's girlfriend has just entered the house. What else do we have? Tuborg Tim, my first shortwave receiver was a national full of tubes. Nothing automated about it. What else do we have? No, my weather station is a 433 megahertz UHF signal. So what else do we have? Thomas Halson. Noise level has been very frustrating of late in my area and the Baltimore region. Nothing like noise to go drive us completely nuts on radio listening. You get to a point where it's like, you just go crazy. And I'm happy that the loops have actually helped me bring back part of my radio listening because I have to say, if it wouldn't been for that, I don't know, my radio listening would have almost always have to be done in somewhere else. Mick Holland, nice to have you on board. Nice warm evening here in the UK. Joined very late, but glad I caught the show. Nice to have you here. Larry Marks, nice to have you here from New Jersey. Solid Comms, good evening. Nice to have you here. What else do we have? Matthias is from Brazil. Simon Templar has been experimenting with different Kiwi SDRs in different locations. Fun stuff. There's a Kiwi SDR in Finland that blocks the frequency for the buzzer. Interesting. Yeah, I play with them regularly, and it's a lot of fun to tune around, especially different parts of the world, and tune a medium wave band and so on. Chris, that spinning thing makes me think my computer is buffering. Tubrook Tim, can I use a CB base station antenna for shortwave receiving? It won't be the best because since they are cut and made for 27 megahertz, you'll have good reception in that range. But as you go lower and lower, it'll be less and less sensitive. I have a few videos where I've used a 102-inch whip, CB whip, for shortwave. Kind of works, but it's really just it degrades as you go down and lower in frequency. It's less and less sensitive. Kameg Z76, do you have a cat door? Or do you just leave the door cracked open? Oh, my door is always open here. I leave the door open all day. When I work in my office, do stuff, the door in the backyard here is always open all day, unless it's really cold. Of course, I don't let it open. But here we've got stray cat. Hey there, kitty. How are you? She's looking. She's asked. I think she wants food. So, Khaled, your back view. If it wasn't, if I hadn't been here since the start of the broadcast, I would have thought it was a montage. Beautiful. Yeah, it's the real deal. The sunset in Montreal, slowly fading. I don't know if I put it a little higher here, like this. You guys could see a little better. But yep, the real deal. Now I'm getting oversaturated, but the background there is it's definitely beautiful. If I get my head out, it's gonna be even better. Look at that. Look at that. It's a beautiful sunset in Montreal tonight. Danielson, nice to have you on board, my friend. Everyone just wondering, do you ever rotate your MLA 30 to make it more directional to pull in faint or particular stations? So nice to have you here from Melbourne. Not really for most part because it's positioned more for the lowest noise possible, and I leave it like that. On far away stations on shortwave, rotating it doesn't do much because the polarization, the mixed polarization of every signal on shortwave just doesn't give it any clear direction that it does anything. On more local stations, if I want to listen to CHU time signal on 3330, which is 100 miles away from Ottawa, and then yes, here on that type of signal, it will have a huge effect depending on the rotation. But I just leave mine for lowest noise possible and keep it like that all the time. John Beckham, Paul Girlfriend will probably want to sleep inside tonight. Yeah, there's a good chance. Temperatures are nice in the daytime, 70 around 70s to 75 Fahrenheit, but at nighttime it goes down to the 40s. We're kind of the longer nights now are making the night go even cooler. You guys see the plane? It's just passing and flashing light there. There's a plane passing by. There, you see it here, like just below the. See, she's going in, going out, going in, going out. That is her way of saying, well, there's no food. It's happening, no food. And what else do we have? Gabriel, how many watts you're transmitting in frequency? I'm not transmitting. I'm all on online. Andy Williams, what's a good frequency shortwave channel for us beginners right now? It depends where you live. That's shortwave is not like like an AM FM radio. You can't, it's there's no in an international audience actually. There's no clear answer to that question. It depends where you live. If you live in Europe, there are frequencies you can try for and do stuff. If you live in North America, there's other frequencies you can try, but there's no clear answer to that. It's really, really dependent on where you are and the time and what time of day it is and so on. Tune around. The best way is really to tune around and check out what's out there. It's that the radio has a tuning knob for a very simple reason. It's the fact that you can tune around slowly and check out what's on the different frequency ranges. What I would say is more important is not necessarily to have do what frequency I should be listening to at now, for example. The best is to learn what are the international broadcast band frequencies, so you have an idea where to listen to international broadcasters, and then know if you have single sideband, know what are amateur frequencies, what are utility frequencies. So like that, when depending on what you want to try, where you can start tuning around. But just tune around. That's the best way to see what's out there. What else do we have? So Mike Jam, nice to have you here. Yeah, 40 is great sleeping weather. Absolutely. A tuner, Two Broke Tim, a tuner for a wire antenna can, yes, have a little bit of an impact if you would tune that wire to the frequency range you're actually listening to, but not it's not going to be a difference of I hear a station or not. It might bring it a little better because you're making the antenna resonate more on the frequency you're listening to, but for receiving, it's not an equipment that most people use in general. What else do we have? M1 and BZ, some CB antenna have an impedance matching circuit in the base, and this can severely reduce the antenna performance at lower frequencies. Yeah, depending on the type of antenna you have. Paul, nice to have you on board from Southwest Michigan. John Beckham, I have really been enjoying the much improved propagation on the early morning 15 to 17,000. Yeah, it's really a mix of the higher solar activity with the the time of the year we are in the seasons. Yeah, well, at least in the eastern part of Canada, it's dark. So yeah, Barry, most very distant signals are all mixed up. They're not polarized and it's like it's a mishmash of polarization that changes every second. Because of the bouncing off the ionosphere, it changes everything. So it's not something that matters much for long distance. It's really for more of the closer stations that are around you. K1161, feed me now, says the stray cat. Pretty much. She's still here? I don't know if she's still here. I think she's gone. I think she wasn't happy I didn't do anything. I don't know. I think the best in most circumstances, if it's noisy where you are, the best is still a magnetic loop like an MLA30. It really depends on what you're doing. When 1960, actually, it's videos that I posted with it. So if you search on YouTube on my channel, just put 102 inch. I think or CB antenna. You'll you'll get on all the videos that I posted where I listened to shortwave, tuning around with the CB antenna. Thomas Kitts, nice to have you here from North Michigan, and nice to have you on board. And so, Tatoy Cristanto, nice to have you here from the Philippines. Pretty cool to have all of you here. So it's that time again, guys. We've been up 6936 upper sideband. Let's check it out. Let's check it out here. 6936. But it's that time again, guys. We've been on for 3 hours. I'm hungry. I've got some pork chops to cook on the barbecue. And so I'm going to, I'm hearing the music on the ATS 25. I'm hearing the music. So I want to say take care, everybody. Hope you enjoyed the show tonight. Hope it was cool. And yes, there's a Pirate 6936 upper sideband. Yeah, that will be removing the radio and doing pork chops on the barbecue. Absolutely. Everybody come over. I'm going to wait for you guys. So, Maxi 76. My cat seems to want wet cat food constantly, but she doesn't get fat. Yeah, depends on cats. Like Paul the cat being a ginger tabby, it is known that ginger tabbies are kind of eating too much when you leave them. That's why Paul is kind of fat a little bit. I give him food every time he wants it, but I should relax the food, honestly, for sure. Fort Prefect, nice to have you here. Enjoying your channel. Haven't listened to shortwave radio since the 80s. Received this PL 880 2 days ago. Having fun. Cool. Nice to have you here from Australia. So take care, everybody. Stay safe. John Beckham, I find that by moving your antenna around, you can find areas where the noise goes down and reception improves. Yep. Take care, Christian Marco. Nice to have you on board, everybody. Stay safe. Love you all. We'll be back with the next show on Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern. That's Thursday for the rest of the world at 0 UTC. And I hope you enjoyed the show tonight. I'll be listening with the ATS 25 and some other radios. So I'll be posting anything that I listen to tonight on the Facebook group if you are there. And hope that everybody enjoyed the show tonight. So pork chops, mashed potatoes, a little salad, and I think it's going to be really good. So take care, everybody. Stay safe, and see you soon.